Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Dvorak's Rusalka, live from the Metropolitan Opera House, which I saw last night at the Kino and de Kultur Brauerei. The conductor was Mark Elder, the production was done by Mary Zimmerman, the sets were done by Daniel Ostling, the costumes were done by Mara Bloomfeld, the lights were handled by TJ Gherkins, the choreographer was Austin McCormick, and the filmographer was Gary Halverson. I was really anticipating this production because this offered a star-studded cast. Christina Opolais as Rusalka, Katarina Dalayman as the foreign princess, Jamie Barton as Jezibaba, Brandon Jovanovich as the prince, and Eric Owens as Vodnik. I'll get to how they performed much later, but first, my thoughts on the production. Since Mary Zimmerman is yet another one of my most favorite opera directors of all time, this production of Rusalka was really appealing thanks to her imaginative and creative mind, and especially basing on the fact that she also really read the text through and through and found out that this was based on not only Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid, but also that of the German fairy tale Undine. And she really knew how to play with those elements really well, which is no wonder why the whole setting of the entire production was set within like the late 18th century all the way up to the early 19th century, thus making all of these elements come alive, not just the fairy tale elements, but also all of those hidden tones and all of those messages of true love, or even that of that type of passionate love that Rusalka and the prince have, especially evidenced in the ballroom scene, where the dance is not really just to emphasize the whole beauty and glamour of the palace, but it also emphasizes the growing tensions between the prince and Rusalka ever since they first met each other. And in terms of what the sets, the lighting, and everything else the production had to offer, it was just delivered with a lot of magnificence. There was superb lighting, there was great shading and nuances to be found, and there was this great sense of dark imagination, but at the same time, never forgetting that it's also meant to have a few moments of charm and enchantment in between. And that's what's so wonderful about this particular production of Rusalka. When you combine the really charming and fantastical elements of a fairy tale, combine it with a really dark story of true love and what it's like to be human, then you definitely know that Madame Zimmerman really put everything together in this production, and it's also greatly evidenced in the costumes. I really love Rusalka's first act costume, as she looked so heavenly. Her costume is meant to show that she is of the water, and thus you see a lot of lily pads and a lot of really light blue colors around her, and they look absolutely gorgeous, especially when she is dressed for her ballroom scene. You see her dressed in like a sky blue outfit to highlight her innocence, which I thought was really well done. And I also love the costume of the foreign princess. It's also to show that she is a very passionate and very single-minded woman who just loves to get everything that she wants, and she's very passionate about the prince until she finds out that the prince also has the hots for Rusalka. Does she spurn him and just really shides him like the domineering dominatrix that she is. And I really love Jezibaba's costume. It gives her that element of really making her spooky, but at the same time quite maternal, and it's handled in such a way that makes her come alive. So overall, the overall production done by Madame Mary Zimmerman was really well done, using a lot of nuances and a lot of subtext, and just really making everything burst out alive. It was flawlessly executed, and it really told its story wonderfully. And now we get to the singers, the very facet of this review I'm really excited to talk about because there was a lot of star quality last night. Starting off with Christina Opolais' gorgeously sung and wonderfully acted Rusalka. I have seen this superb spinto soprano in a lot of Met Live in HD productions and also a lot of YouTube clips of her. And I also heard a lot of really wonderful things about Madame Opolais. She's mostly well known in the Italian repertoire, but here she was singing a Czech role. And I thought she pulled it off really well, as she was able to make Rusalka an enigmatic, headstrong, yet nonetheless really elegant creature. One definitely has to root for Opolais' Rusalka for everything that she goes through, and she doesn't really go too over the top with her acting either. She manages to find the balance between being headstrong and being kind of a victim of circumstance, and she does it really well without the need of going too over the top or too theatrical. And in terms of her voice, I really love that smoky, sensual quality it has. It has a very fine timbre, and when she hits her high notes, they sound really lovely. And she has a very fine way of how she paces herself vocally, and she did a very fine job embodying Rusalka. She definitely deserves a lot of my praise for her fine portrayal of the titular heroine, and she did an overall fine job throughout the evening. Singing the role of Rusalka's rival, the foreign princess, was the superb Swedish Wagnerian soprano Katarina Dalayman, who I was really surprised she didn't get interviewed during the intermission scenes, but I digress. As I've noticed during her career as a singer in the 90s, she started out with singing a lot of these spinto, almost dramatic soprano roles, though venturing into other roles like Brangena and Sieglinde, before heading into a lot more of the Wagnerian soprano roles like Brunhilde, Elektra, and Isolde, with some forays into the Zwischenfach roles like Amneris, Cassandra, and Didon. Though nowadays she also specializes in a lot of the mezzo roles, including that of Carmen from Bizet's Carmen, Fricka from the Ring tetralogy, and even that of Waltraute from Götterdämmerung and Herodias from Salome. And I thought that her characterization of the foreign princess was really well executed. First of all, I really love the timbre of her voice. It's full sounding, it's exciting to listen to, and it has that incisive quality that I really love in a lot of dramatic sopranos. It's not overly cutting a la Birgit Nilsson, but it has that really sensual, round, and rich quality that I really love. Her vocal qualities do seem to be like a combination of Helga Dernisch's really luxurious timbre and even that of Astrid Varnay's fuller, more incisive tones. And she managed to portray the foreign princess really well, making her really catty but at the same time very luxurious, and she has a very strong stage presence. By the time she entered on stage, I felt her presence. I felt her gravity. I felt that this was a character I did not want to mess with anytime soon, and she pulled it off with such flying colors. Even though she had only one scene, her presence, her vocal attributes, and her overall performance quality were the absolute assets of what really made a great singer like Katarina Dalayman come to life. She was definitely in her A game, and she had superb chemistry, not only with Christina Opolais' Rusalka as the rivals, but also with Brandon Jovanovich as the prince, who is basically also her love interest. I'm not going to mince words here. Katarina Dalayman was a very fabulous singing actress. Then we have Jamie Barton's superbly sung, superbly acted Yeji Baba. My goodness, did this dramatic mezzo have a lot of fun with this particular role, as I could see it in her eyes. I could see it in her mannerisms. I could feel it and hear it in her voice. I could sense everything just burst out with abandon when Madame Barton embodied Yejibaba. Her solo aria Churimuri Fuk was sung with not only a great sense of charisma and great attention to the text, but she also sung it with a little bit of a menacing tone, thus making Yejibaba come alive as a character. She really had a lot of fun portraying Yejibaba, making her quite nasty, quite duplicitous, and overall the type of person that you would not want to meet every day. And she really knew how to make a great use of her round and mighty dramatic mezzo voice. She was able to sing with such pure abandon while being such a superb actress. And that is a major plus when you have someone as grand as Jamie Barton, who did a phenomenal job as Yejibaba. Brandon Jovanovich's Prince was dashing, handsome, and his vocal assets were absolutely superb. I have followed this particular tenor's career for quite some time, as I first heard him as an 11-year-old boy when I watched his performance of Pinkerton from Madame Butterfly at the New York City Opera House with my grandma, as we were the audience members at the time, and Chocho-san was played by Chensu Panariello, and I thought it was a very strong first impression. The last time I heard him live was 3 years ago when I saw him again as Don José from the Zurich Opera House's production of Carmen, and here he was singing the role of the prince. And my goodness, does he have a very handsome voice. And based on what he is singing these days, he seems to specialize in a lot of dramatic / heldentenor roles. And he sang the prince with such pure abandon, but at the same time making this character just so alive on stage and also quite virile. Helped with his baritonal sounding middle range, and he had really wonderful high notes. He let his voice ring throughout the theater, and it filled the house really, really well. And this was a voice that was great in timbre, really expressive, but at the same time has that very fine and handsome quality that I really love in a lot of dramatic tenors. He did a very fine job embodying the prince, and his chemistry with Cristina Opolais' Rusalka was quite palpable. And you really feel like these two really enjoyed each other's company, and they really knew how to make their performances come alive with pure abandon. And they had, as I stated before, superb vocal and theatrical chemistry. Eric Owens was a powerful Vodnik, and I really love this bass baritone. He has one of the greatest voices I have ever heard, and he is a very fine actor. But more than anything, his musicianship was really spot on as Vodnik, as he was able to make this water-known come alive, and he had a very strong and sturdy stage presence, completely ideal for a lot of these fatherly and at times antagonistic roles, which is really why I love Eric Owens as a singer. He is really committed to the roles he sings, and more than anything, he is a very disciplined and strong musician. The smaller roles also did wonderfully as well. We have Daniela Mack's gorgeously sung Kitchen Boy, Alan Opie's handsomely sung and really sturdy Gameskeeper, Anthony Clark Evans's handsomely sung Hunter, and of course, the gorgeous trio singing of the Wood Nymphs sung by Hye-Sang Park, Megan Marino, and Cassandra Thoe Velasco. Overall, the singing was excellent, not just from the main players, but also from the supporting players. Everyone went together and everyone was a star, and I give everyone from the main characters all the way up to the supporting characters a huge round of kudos for a job excellently done, and the conducting done by Mark Elder was really superb as he paid close attention to every detail on the text, and he really knew how to collaborate with all the singers and everyone involved in the opera. So overall, this production of Rusalka was excellent. Everyone went together, and I certainly had a ball with everyone involved, from the main players all the way up to the secondary characters, all the way up to the conductor, Sir Mark Elder. Everyone went together, and it was a very luxurious experience. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in next week, hopefully, for my review of Edward II at the Deutsche Oper Berlin. So until then, have a great day, everybody.